Hey, True this is Pastor Jim. I just want to take a quick moment this week to remind you or illustrate for you how the Bible itself will use the basic and foundational stories of the Old Testament as a way to encourage and sustain people in their faith. And I see this in Hebrews chapter 11, where there is a list of stories from the Old Testament that is included in order to encourage the faith of these Christians. The book of Hebrews is written to Christians who come from a Jewish background. And so for them to follow Jesus has cost them something. They have had to be left out of their families. They have suffered. It says in Hebrews that they had their property taken away from them and that they rejoiced in the midst of that. And the writer of Hebrews encourages them. The writer of Hebrews actually says, I think it's in chapter 6, that you really should be moving from milk to meat, but even in the midst of moving from milk to meat, you don't outgrow the milk. And in chapter 11, the writer of Hebrews just recounts basic, fundamental Old Testament stories. He starts with creation in verse 3. He talks about Cain and Abel, Enoch, and in verse 7, the writer of Hebrews says that by faith, Noah, being warned about things not yet seen, in reverence prepared an ark for the salvation of his household. And so even the Bible itself will at times return to the foundational and basic teachings and stories as a way to encourage and sustain people, because when things get difficult, we do sometimes forget the fundamentals. And so Hebrews chapter 11 is an example of returning to the fundamentals to strengthen us when times get difficult. And that's essentially what we're trying to accomplish in this sermon series, The Story of the Bible, is to do what Hebrews chapter 11 did for those Hebrew Christians. We are trying to do for us at True Vine is let's get back to these fundamental foundational truths. Let's build the foundation strongly upon those so that as we proceed and move forward, we have a solid foundation. So this week, I'm going to encourage you to read Hebrews chapter 11 and see how you can connect the stories in that chapter with what we have been studying and will be studying during our sermons. All right, thanks a lot. Have a great week.